Later on, Jazal continues his training for the tournament, and his superior officer who is training him continues to add on training exercises to his regiment. And it gets to the point where Jazal had kind of breaks, and he wants to go tell his superior officer that he is not going to be participating in the tournament. And he also wants to tell his friend Colum West that he will not be participating in the tournament. And that's who he goes to first. So he goes to find Colum. Upon arriving at Colum's residence, instead of finding Colum, he finds Artie. And he finds Artie a little bit drunk. He can tell that she's been drinking. It's the middle of the day, so he is not impressed, shall we say, that she is intoxicated in the middle of the day. And she asks him why he came. He lets her know that he's actually looking for Colum, and tells her that he is thinking about quitting training for the tournament. And they get into a little bit of a heated argument. And she goes on to tell him that he's essentially a spoiled brat. He's arrogant. He's been given everything that he has. He takes things that he's been given for granted. And she tells Jazal that her and Colum had a bet. Colum bet that Jazal would continue with his training and participate in the contest. Artie bet that he would drop out. So she tells Jazal that because he's dropping out, that she's won her bet. Jazal is obviously very hurt that Artie would bet against him. He thought that they got along really well, that she liked him, that she at least certainly wouldn't be betting against him and calling him these names and speaking to him in such a nasty manner. And never mind, he says, "Oh, I've never been spoken to like this before." So his response to this is, instead of quitting, he's going to continue training for the tournament, and he's going to prove Artie wrong. And he finds a new motivation, one that he didn't have before, to train for the tournament and to be successful in it. Now we go back to Logan. He is in that city where the first Magi is, Bayaz, and he's rested, he's been fed, his wounds have been treated, and so has Malachus Quai's injuries been saw to. He starts having a discussion with Bayaz, and he learns that Bethid, who is the self-proclaimed king in the north, Jon Snow, Bethid is looking to invade one of the Union-controlled cities, and this is why he wants Bayaz to join him, so he can use his powers to more easily take this city. Now, Bethid and Logan have a lot of history with each other. Logan used to fight for Bethid. He used to be his champion, meaning when Bethid had a dispute with a rival clan, both clans, Bethids and this rival clan, would choose a champion, and they would have a duel to decide this conflict. And Logan, this is where he earned some of his fame. He has been in 10 or more of these duels, and he's won every single one of them. But Logan is known for his brutality, for his bloodthirstiness, which conflicts with what we know about him now. We've seen him as this mild-mannered, compassionate person, but you're getting clued into his past that he ran away from, or that we'll learn later on that he ran from. And he has this reputation that he's earned. So Logan is nervous about this meeting that's going to happen when Bethid arrives. And when Bethid does arrive, he brings along a few henchmen, and he does what he says he's going to do and proposes that Bayaz join him in invading one of the Union cities. Bayaz, at the end of it, declines, and Bethid promises revenge on him, and he leaves. After this, Bayaz tells Logan that he is going to go to Adwa, which seems to be the capital of the Union, and this is where Jezal and Glokta are. He's going to go there and reclaim his seat on the closed council. So fast forward a little bit, and Logan, Bayaz, and Quai, who they took along with them, arrive in Adwa, and you get the sense from Logan that he's a bit of a fish out of water. He's a Northman, used to living in the wilderness, and he has never been to a city as big as Adwa, or a city at all. After arriving in Adwa, the three of them head to the Agriant, which is kind of like the city within a city. And upon arriving, Bayaz and Logan and Quai aren't exactly met with open arms. The government officials that receive them are skeptical, you could at least, of who Bayaz is saying that he is. Bayaz is saying that he is the closed council member that the open seat is for. So this would imply that he is a legendary historical figure in the history of the Union, and that he is hundreds of years old. The receiving party, understandably, is skeptical and thinks that he is a fraud and is lying about who he says he is. Nevertheless, they give Bayaz, Logan, and Quai a room at the top of the House of Chains, and that's where they stay. During their time at the House of Chains, Logan decides to do some exploring of the city he's never been to. Again, he's kind of a fish out of water. He's never been to a place like this, and he just goes around, looks at some things, talks to some people, and while he's doing this, the Inquisition is secretly following him around, looking at who he's talking to, where he's going, because they suspect, at least, that he is a northern spy. The Union has gotten wind at this point that the North and King Bethid are planning an assault on the Union. So they think that this Northman, Logan, is potentially a spy, so they want to follow him around and see what he's doing, if he is trying to collect information on the Union to further the North's interests. During this time, Logan is awoken in the middle of the night, and he feels a presence in the room that he's in. So he gets up to investigate, and he sees a woman there, standing in the room that they're staying at. This woman is acting very strangely, and we, as the reader and Logan, pick up or sense that she appears to be human, but she also appears to not be. We're not exactly sure what she is, and she starts making threatening advances toward Logan. And at this point, Bayaz steps in seemingly out of nowhere and kills this woman. And later on, it's discovered that there is a massive hole in the wall at the window that appears to have been blasted through, which is interesting because they are really high up in this tower, and it's a sheer drop off of the end of it, and there doesn't seem to be a way to create a hole that big in the window, so they are unsure as to how this all happened. Here we cut to Glokta, who has been charged with investigating this incident. So he goes to the room that Logan, Quai, and Bayaz are staying at, and he investigates the large hole that was created, and he is stumped as to how it happened too. Upon being stumped by this incident, Gladka decides to seek an expert opinion at the university that's in the Agriont, and talks to some scholars to see if they can shed any light onto how a hole that big could have been blasted into the wind out of the window. Gladka does not uncover any useful information from the scholars there until he speaks to the historian scholar, and the historian gives him this old scroll that refers to how the first magi of the past killed the maker. Glauca steals this piece of paper. And the reason why this conflict that this scroll refers to is significant is because that's how the Union and the government that they know today was formed. It all started after this conflict between the Magi and the first Magi and the Maker, where the Magi kills the Maker and forms the Union. A short time after this, there is a grisly discovery of a human body, or what is left of this human body, in one of the gardens in the Agriont, and Glauca is sent to investigate it. He takes the body and he brings it to a medical examiner of some kind, and the medical examiner says that it appears that there are human bite marks on what is left of the body, and that a good portion of the body itself was eaten. At this point during the meeting, another inquisitor by the name of Goyle comes in, and the medical examiner lets Goyle know what he just told Glauca, that it appears that there are human bites on the remains, and that the portion of the body was eaten. Goyle acts very strangely to this news, and instead lets the medical examiner know that he's going to find that these are not human bite marks, that they are dog bite marks. And at first, the medical examiner refutes this and says, no, these are human bites. Then Goyle strongly implies, threateningly, that he's going to find that they are actually dog bite marks. And the medical examiner says, yes, of course, they were dog bite marks. All the while, Glauca is looking at this, and this only furthers his suspicion that there is something amiss in the Inquisition. At this point, we go back to Jezal Luther, and we see that his training is over, and it is now time to begin the dueling tournament. Around the same time, Jezal finds a note that has been slipped under his door, and he sees that it is from Artie, and she wants to meet up with him. Now, the reason that Artie is contacting Jezal secretively is because Colum, Artie's brother, threatened Jezal, told him to not pursue Artie romantically. He was starting to get the sense that they are having romantic feelings for each other, and he doesn't want Artie's reputation to be ruined because he knows that Jezal wouldn't have any long-term plans with Artie, and he doesn't want Jezal to tarnish Artie's reputation, which would hurt her chances of a favorable marriage in the future. So Colum says, stay away from my sister. Jezal does not heed Colum's warning and instead decides to meet up with Artie. And during this meeting, they end up kissing, and he enjoys it, and he plans on seeing her more in the future. After this, Jezal participates in his next bout, and he ends up winning that one, but by the skin of his teeth. The reason this is worrisome is because Gisele's third opponent, the opponent he needs to beat to be crowned champion, is the previous year's champion and a heavy favorite. So if Giselle was barely able to beat his second opponent, it doesn't look like he has much of a chance against Gorst. Giselle goes to his third match and is matched up against the previous year champion Gorst, and the arena is packed with people. The whole royal family is there. Artie is there. Glatka is actually there too. And so is Bayaz and Logan. They're all there to watch this fight. The fight begins, and Giselle is against the ropes from the get-go. He gets several points against him in a row, and it looks like all is lost. And as he's about to be struck down and lose to Gorst, he suddenly appears to find new strength, and he goes on an absolute tear and scores several points in a row against Gorst. We are looking at this through the eyes of Glatka, who is absolutely stunned by this and notes to himself that this actually shouldn't be happening, that Giselle should have lost, and he is suspicious that Giselle is getting help from somewhere. It is now match point between Gorst and Giselle, and they trade blows. It's very close. And again, when it seems like Gorst has Giselle and is about to finish the final blow, Giselle miraculously deals the game-winning strike and wins the tournament. Everyone's really happy for him, and he enjoys the applause and the glory. And people are congratulating him, and one of the people that congratulates him is Bayaz, and we can see that Bayaz looks really tired. His eyes are sunken in. It looks like he's just ran a marathon. From this, we can pretty accurately infer that Bayaz was the one that was helping Giselle. Giselle doesn't appear to know that he had received assistance. He thinks that he won it all on his own.